TWRC-Wildlife-Center began in 1979 as a coalition of volunteers who wanted to help wildlife impacted by an oil spill. Those volunteers soon realized there was a further need for wildlife rehabilitation right in their own backyards. They believed they couldn't ignore the large numbers of injured or orphaned wildlife in need of care, nor the concerns of the public who were bringing these animals to them. Today, we remain just as passionate about our mission. Our dedicated rehabilitators and volunteers know that releasing these animals back into the wild is very important and extremely rewarding. We've all witnessed the effects of urban sprawl and its impact on wildlife. Our primary mission to provide wildlife rehabilitation and education remains the same, just as it was in 1979. A short-term objective is to meet the growing requests for our education and service programs. Another short-term objective is to grow our on-site rehabilitation programs to enable us to care for more animals during the busy breeding seasons. A long-term objective is to provide outdoor learning experiences for the community. We're searching for land appropriate for the addition of new and exciting outdoor programs. We implemented on-site programs to engage the public in wildlife rehabilitation. Our educational curricula teach the community about wildlife in their own neighborhoods. We developed service programs to encourage stewardship towards nature. Students studying for careers in the veterinary sciences, biology, or environmental studies are invited to train with our vet staff and rehabilitators. Many high schools and colleges require community service hours. We work with the students to determine how best to meet their service requirements. By working in unison with individuals and organizations, we all become better stewards of wildlife and nature. We're effective because we're willing to share our knowledge and experience with anyone with an interest in wildlife conservation. We have a highly skilled set of volunteer rehabilitators who rehabilitate wildlife and mentor and train others. To maintain our high standards of care, we keep up with the latest diagnostics, treatments, and medications by networking with other organizations and attending national wildlife conferences. We sponsor national training workshops at our center. We develop relationships that allow us to engage the community in positive ways which encourage an appreciation and respect for our environment. Our success is measured by our numbers. In 2013, more than 500 individuals volunteered their time to support TWRC. We handled more than 10,000 phone calls and emails from the public requesting assistance with wildlife or information regarding educational and volunteer opportunities. From our participation in community programs and events, we shared knowledge about local wildlife with more than 10,000 people. We record the numbers and status of the hundreds of animals received monthly for treatment, and successful rehabilitation and release is a major gauge of how well we're achieving our mission. Many people don't know that keeping wildlife as a pet is against the law. To legally possess or rehabilitate protected wildlife in Texas, a person must have a wildlife rehabilitation permit. These permits require extensive training to ensure the rehabilitator can provide specialized aid to a wild animal in such a way that it can survive when released back into its native habitat. Another misconception is that we receive state or federal funding. These agencies regulate us, but don't provide financial support. We depend solely on the community, specifically individuals, corporations, and foundations for funding to achieve our goals. TWRC's facility has a veterinary room with state-of-the-art equipment, in-house bird and squirrel rehabilitation rooms, an education center, meeting space, housing for non-releasable education animals, and a supply store for our rehabbers. We've grown our education program more than 6,200 students in 150 programs, not including community events, served in 1 year. We have more than 500 trained and dedicated volunteers serving TWRC. Through the efforts of our dedicated rehabilitators, volunteers, and staff, more than 125,000 animals have been admitted for treatment. Most of them were successfully released back into their natural habitats. Investments of time, money, and resources are crucial to rehabilitate wildlife and provide educational and service opportunities for the public. We're funded entirely by private contributions, and maintaining the necessary income for our expert staff is a challenge. Leasing space for facilities and utilities certainly add up as well. Supporting our rehabilitators and volunteers while keeping our center open 7 days a week demands flexibility and commitment from everyone involved. Recruiting new volunteers and rehabilitators to help maintain and grow our programs can be a challenge. With additional funding, we'd add seasonal supervisory staff to increase our capabilities of rehabbing wildlife and grow our programs. This would allow new training opportunities for those interested in wildlife careers and allow for further development of our rehabilitation program volunteers. Commitments made to off-site programs must be met without burning out current staff and volunteers. With additional funding, we'd add staff to address the growing demands for our educational and service programs. A significant gap is that we have no land on which we can offer the outdoor experiences crucial to understanding nature and wildlife. Currently, our educational and service-oriented programs are held indoors at TWRC-Wildlife-Center. The capability to offer outdoor experiences would present more memorable ways to reconnect both adults and children to our community's natural resources. Another gap is that with our broad geographic reach, it's difficult to accept many requests from the community. We need additional staff to address the growing demands for our educational and service programs and for our participation in community events.